Okay, picture this. You're learning English, but not stuck in a classroom. You're actually doing something you enjoy, maybe working out at the gym. Imagine your language skills getting a workout right alongside your muscles.
A powerful idea, isn't it?
Yeah,
Taking language learning out of its, traditional box and putting it smack dab into the real world context where people actually need to use it.
absolutely. And that's exactly the rabbit hole we're jumping down today. We've got this really fascinating piece of research that asks, how do you figure out what language learners actually need when they're navigating a specific non-classroom place, their spot, a university fitness center?
Right. And they didn't just guess. This paper uses a pretty rigorous, multi-layered research approach to really get to the bottom of what learners, instructors, even regular gym goers experience and, well, need in that setting.
So, our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack their findings. What were the real linguistic needs, the practical needs they uncovered in a place like a gym? And, crucially, how could tech be designed to genuinely help people learn English while they're trying to figure out a tricky weight machine or, chat with someone?
In doing this in a university gym in southern Taiwan, that adds this really important layer, understanding students learning English as a foreign language specifically. What surprised me actually was just how much nuance they found, like what you assume people need isn't always the full picture, not even close sometimes.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture concept this research fits into. English for specific purposes, or ESP.
Right, ESP. Think of it as highly customized English. It's not general conversation stuff. It's the language you need for a particular field.
Yeah.
Usually we hear about English for business, English for medicine, that kind of thing, very academic or job focused.
Exactly. Those make sense. You need specific words for work or study. But this paper looks at something a bit different, maybe less explored. The sociocultural domain. English for everyday life, outside the office or lecture hall. And they picked fitness. So English for fitness purposes, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, and why fitness? Well, it's popular everywhere, right? It's inherently social. People interact, ask questions, share tips, and it's a space where students, especially international students, are often trying to, integrate and communicate beyond just reading a sign.
Makes sense. So how do they go about figuring all this out? They used an approach called design-based research, DBR. The core idea is you identify a problem, design something to fix it, test it out for real, and then tweak it based on what you learn. Very practical cycle.
And the absolute critical first step in DBR, especially if you're building like a learning system, is a solid needs analysis, an NA. It's exactly what it sounds like. Figuring out what learners and instructors actually need in that specific place before you build anything. No guesswork.
Right. And to make sure they weren't missing anything, to get a really reliable picture, they used triangulation. Super important. It means looking at the problem from multiple angles, different data sources, talking to students, talking to the PE instructors running the gym, and even talking to non-PE faculty who just use the gym.
And different methods, too. They actually watched people in the fitness center, seeing what challenges popped up. They did semi-structured interviews to get deeper insights, frustrations, and questionnaires for broader feedback across a larger group.
So combining all that helps capture needs people might not even realize they have, or problems maybe the instructors don't see learners facing.
Exactly, and the setting was key. A working university fitness center in southern Taiwan. Students were there for actual fitness courses. The equipment already had some basic English instructions on it. It was a natural place to study this.
Okay, so after all that digging, what did they actually find? What did people need in this gym context?
Let's start with the language skills themselves, the linguistic needs. Across all the groups they surveyed, the questionnaires showed something really consistent. Receptive skills were seen as absolutely core.
Receptive skills meaning reading and listening. Okay. So being able to read the instructions on a machine or listen to advice from someone, that's the foundation.
Right, and the vocabulary and phrases specific to fitness, anatomy, machine names, verbs like lift or stretch were rated as particularly important. There was a slight difference in ranking between students and the PE experts on that specific point, but both agreed it was essential, well above neutral.
And the qualitative stuff, the interviews and observations, did that back it up?
It did, but it added a layer. While understanding information, those receptive skills was the basic need, they found that oral communication skills, speaking, were needed too, but primarily for social purposes.
Interesting. So not just functional talk like, how does this work? But more like sharing ideas, asking for suggestions, explaining your routine.
Exactly that. Hey, how do you like this workout? Or, have you tried this exercise? That social interaction in English was identified as a real need, something that builds on that initial understanding. And yes, specific terminology was vital for both understanding instructions and talking about muscles.
Got it. So the takeaway on language is start with understanding. Reading and listening for fitness info first, build that vocabulary, then use that foundation to develop speaking skills for chatting and interacting in the gym.
Makes sense. Build the base, then build on top.
Okay, so beyond the language itself, what about the actual fitness knowledge? What content did people need to understand and learn the English for?
Well, the questionnaires showed pretty broad agreement on needing practical fitness knowledge. Things like how to correctly operate the equipment and understanding muscles and physical anatomy, those were rated as extremely important by everyone.
Right, you need to know what you're doing and why. And were there differences in how groups saw this?
There were some significant differences in how different groups prioritize specific items, like students versus non-PE faculty or PE versus non-PE faculty, but everyone still weighted them highly. The consensus was clear. This practical anatomical knowledge was essential.
In the interviews and observations, what details did they add?
They've really fleshed this out. People needed to know about, say, finding workout substitutions if a machine was busy, understanding full-body routines, crucial safety info, obviously, proper warm-ups and cool-downs, and critically, those social skills again, how to actually ask for help or share advice. It all ties back together.
Yeah, I can totally see that. You need the vocabulary for warm-up, the anatomy knowledge for why you do it, and the language skills to ask someone, am I doing this stretch right?
Exactly. And the observations confirm these practical needs. Seeing people figure out operation steps, understanding machine functions, safety things. Though the paper noted safety was sometimes maybe overemphasized in existing materials, funnily enough. Tracking progress was another thing. And seeing people try, sometimes struggle, sometimes succeed with those social interactions.
Okay, so the content takeaway is kind of layered. Learners need the practical how to use stuff, exercises, safety, and the foundational why, the muscles, the body. And all this content needs to be woven together with the language skills to learn it and then use it interactively.
Precisely. It's not just language or content. It's both, together in context.
Which leads us to the next big question. If we were going to build a system or materials to help with all this, what should it look like? What features did people actually want or need from the technology itself?
This was another area with strong consensus. Across students, instructors, faculty, pretty much everyone agreed on what they wanted from a learning system. No big disagreements here.
Okay, so what was on the tech wish list?
They wanted something hypermedia-based. Lots of links, easy to jump between related info. Multimedia was huge pictures, definitely videos showing exercises, audio for pronunciation or listening practice.
Makes sense for visual physical activity. What else?
A user-friendly interface. They actually described it as app-like, intuitive, easy to use on a phone, which is what people would likely have with them, and immediate feedback and information. Like if you're standing right there in front of the machine, you need the info now.
Instant access, yeah.
Personal tracking was also highlighted. The ability to monitor both their language progress, new words, tasks done, and their physical progress. Sets, reps, maybe linking to fitness trackers. Personalized pace was key too, controlling audio speed, repeating bits, using captions if needed, and a portfolio feature to see their whole learning journey.
And what about that social aspect? Did that come up?
It did. They suggested a discussion platform or forum, a place to connect with other learners or maybe even instructors.
Okay, and for the learning materials themselves? Any preferences?
Dialogue-based content was preferred, especially by the PE experts. It feels more authentic, like real conversations you'd hear. Materials should also have structure outlines, maybe guiding questions to focus learning, and ways to check understanding, like little quizzes or tasks. Oh, and including current fitness news was seen as a plus. Keeps it fresh.
And how should the learning actually flow? Like the sequence of activities?
Participants suggested, and observations supported this, starting with self-learning activities. Build the basic knowledge and comprehension individually first, then move on to collaborative activities, interacting with others. It mirrors how people often behave in a real gym, figure things out solo, then maybe ask someone or join in.
Right. Get your bearings first. So the ideal system is visual, intuitive, gives you info right when and where you need it, lets you personalize and track things, and guides you from understanding the fitness and language stuff on your own towards actually using it to interact with others.
Exactly. It's a tall order, but that's what the needs pointed towards.
So this really detailed needs analysis wasn't just, an academic thing. The researchers used these findings to actually create a blueprint for a system, a context-aware, ubiquitous language learning system, COULL. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, CULL. And they used established learning theories, like elaboration theory and a model for psychomotor skills, to structure the content logically, arranging it from simple concepts like basic machine operation to more complex ones like full workout routines. It mirrors how you'd naturally learn.
So how would this system actually work conceptually?
Well, imagine QR codes struck right on the fitness equipment. You scan a code with your smartphone. That connects you, probably via Wi-Fi, to a server. And that server holds databases full of learning materials, tasks, and your personal portfolio. It could even have like an integrated online dictionary for quick lookups right there.
Okay, I can picture that. Scan the code on the leg press, get info, maybe a video.
Exactly. And a typical learning activity, say within one unit focused on a specific machine or muscle group, might start with a warm-up. Maybe listening to a dialogue about getting ready to exercise, exploring the gym layout virtually, or just scanning that first QR code.
Then you'd move into those crucial self-directed receptive activities.
Right. Reading instructions, maybe listening to audio explanations, definitely building vocabulary related to that machine or exercise, answering some comprehension questions to check that you got it.
And once you feel like you understand it.
Then you move to speaking practice. Maybe recording yourself, explaining how to use the machine, or doing a little role-play conversation prompt, or even preparing to share your actual experience using it, building confidence.
And finally, bringing in the social side.
Yeah, the collaborative activities. Using that discussion platform, they mentioned maybe posting a question, sharing a tip you discovered, or discussing a workout plan with another user, putting those social communication skills into practice based on the content you just learned.
And the portfolio ties it all together. It would track everything, not just your language progress, but maybe linking to your physical activity logs too, showing a complete picture of your learning and doing.
Okay, so if we pull back and look at the big picture from this deep dive into English for fitness, what are the main takeaways here?
Well, the really fundamental finding, I think, reinforces a classic language learning principle, but applies it in this very specific context. You have to understand the input first. Those receptive skills, reading, listening, understanding the environment, and the info in it, they're the absolute foundation, non-negotiable.
Right, you can't talk about it if you don't understand it first.
Exactly. Only then can you effectively build towards the productive skills, like speaking, for actual interaction and social purposes in that gym space.
And this study really highlights the power of integrating the content and the language learning, doesn't it? That CLIL approach, content and language integrated learning, definitely. You're not just memorizing vocab lists about muscles. You're learning English through the practical context of fitness. Understanding how to use that machine is the pathway to becoming communicatively competent in that specific setting.
Now, you mentioned limitations earlier.
Yeah, sure. Like any study, it has them. This was focused on university undergrads, so maybe different needs for other groups. Some data was tied to formal course activities, which might skew things slightly, and it was just one location, one university in Taiwan.
But still, its real strength seems to be as a kind of blueprint, right?
I think so. It shows how a really user-centered needs analysis, digging deep with multiple methods and perspectives, can directly shape the design of effective, context-aware language learning systems. Not just for fitness, but potentially for other real-world social domains too. It's a model for building tech that actually meets users where they are with what they genuinely need.
It shifts the focus maybe from look at this cool tech we can build to does this tech actually help someone learn English in this specific place they care about?
Precisely. That's the key shift.
This deep dive really opens up some interesting possibilities. It shows we don't have to keep language learning locked away in classrooms. By really understanding the authentic needs in specific environments, building skills strategically, like you said, understanding first, then interaction, and designing technology that actually fits into that environment seamlessly, we could create some really powerful, really relevant learning experiences.
And makes you think, doesn't it? Just how many other everyday places are kind of ripe for this kind of tailored language support.
Totally. So thinking about this idea, English for specific, everyday social context, designed based on real user needs and the actual environment, what other places come to mind for you? Your local coffee shop, a community garden, maybe even a hiking trail group. Where else could this kind of context-aware system built just for the interactions that happen there really make a difference?